Welcome back to our Steven. Anybody else remember that embarrassing thing that they did back in 2011? And today, from someone discovering their roommate secretly placed a tracker on their car to a guy realizing his wife has had lice for almost an entire year, we've got some wild Reddit updates, all starting with a post titled, "My 26-year-old male girlfriend, 24-year-old female, openly does not agree with my mom's, 62-year-old female, choices. Am I unreasonable to break up with her over this?" Original post, August 12, 2015. My girlfriend Rachel and I have been together for 8 months. We recently made a trip out west for a little over a week's vacation. Our last stop was paying a visit to my parents. This was the first time my girlfriend met them. We stayed over at their place for a couple of days before returning home. When we arrived at my parents' house, my mom said that she got our room ready and to go ahead, make ourselves at home, and relax and go in the hot tub if we wanted. Rachel acted surprised and said something like, "You mean we get to stay in our own bedroom together? Wow, my parents would never allow that unless we're married." My mom laughed and said that they were thinking of taking us out for dinner later tonight if we would like, and just let her know when we would like to go. We did our own thing for a few hours. Fooled around like sneaky teenagers do. I felt good about being back home with Rachel. We all drove together to the restaurant and chatted about what we did on vacation and reminisced about the neighborhood. At dinner, Rachel started talking about marriage and kids and said something like, "I have to have kids before I hit 30. It doesn't matter for guys though, but we women can't procrastinate." It was a little awkward. I wasn't sure if Rachel was just nervous or didn't realize my parents had me when they were older or just didn't care. My parents didn't say much, but I know that they weren't particularly impressed by Rachel. When we got back to our own room for the night, I asked Rachel why she brought that up and didn't she know that my mom had me older. She said she knew and that she doesn't agree with my mom's priorities and that my parents are too liberal. The next day, we returned back to the other coast. I love my parents, and my mom is amazing. I like Rachel's frankness. I always found it refreshing, but she just came across tactless to me. I'm kind of bugged by Rachel's behavior. It's weird, but I feel like her not respecting my mom means she doesn't respect me. I think this is grounds for breaking up, but I'm not sure if I'm being irrational. Any advice or thoughts? So that's the end of the original post, and I just have to say, it's weird that she comes into OP's room, says something that almost implies like they're impressed by how casual and cool their parents are, and then by all measures doubles down on that and acts out on it, fooling around like teenagers do, and follows all of that up with, "Yeah, they're too liberal for me. Basically, OP, I don't really like them." It's like if somebody showed up to be served a 3-course meal, finished every single plate completely clean, and then afterwards went, "Yeah, I don't know, wasn't really all that great." In the comments, an anonymous poster wrote, "Oh my god, why are we allowed to stay in a room together? Fools around with you in your parents' home, sleeps in the same room with you. Jeez, OP, your parents are just too liberal. Honestly, where does this girl get off?" Another user named dcolt left a comment writing, "My parents didn't say much, but I know that they weren't particularly impressed by Rachel. I'm reasonably close to your parents in age, and I'm not particularly impressed either. She said she knew and that she doesn't agree with my mom's priorities and that my parents are too liberal. Condemning another person's priorities from which one directly benefits, in this case getting to sleep in the same room with you, is pretty much the definition of hypocrisy. Also, I find this judgmental to the point of arrogance, and her biological clock shtick is outright disrespectful. If you stay with Rachel, this is only going to get worse." The OP then posted an update August 13th, 2015, the next day. Thank you all for the comments. I was pretty surprised by the volume. I was trying to downplay my concerns about the incidents at my parents'. I met up with Rachel at her place before maybe heading for dinner together. I let her know that I wanted to talk about what she said about my mom during vacation. I'm just going to provide a dialogue about what was exchanged to make it easier for me and hopefully less confusing. I said, "I'm still trying to understand why you said what you said at dinner and why you're in such disagreement with my mom." Rachel replied, "It's so weird how good looking your dad is still. He could have been a model when he was younger. Your mom is not anywhere in the same league as your dad." I respond to her, "I don't understand what you're talking about. Rachel replied, I think it's odd that they're together. It's creepy. I responded, my parents love each other. I don't get the problem you have. I think that you purposefully brought up having kids earlier than my mom to criticize her. Rachel then replied, well, I don't like your mom. I don't have to like her. The rest of the conversation was more pulling teeth. I had already given thought about what happened last weekend, and I guess I share a chapter or two from my parents' book. I want to feel confident about my partner. Rachel gives me doubt, not comfort. A lot of comments mentioned that I may have been oblivious, and what I initially perceived as frankness was likely always tactlessness, that I may not have noticed it was tactlessness because I was in agreement. I think these were factors, but I also didn't agree with Rachel always on her opinions. I just didn't disagree either. I broke up with Rachel last night. Her parting words were, a mama's boy is just plain ugly, and you're cursed with your mom's looks. Edit. So I rang my parents to let them know that I broke up with Rachel. I spoke with my dad first and he said, you made a good decision. She was dumber than a box of hair. Then I spoke with my mom and she asked why I ended it. I told her that she was too irrational and contradictory. She wasn't convinced that was the entire reason, so I told her everything since she has a pretty thick skin. She had a real good laugh and said that Rachel's just a mean girl, and she's glad that it didn't take me longer than 8 months to work that one out. And she also told my dad that he still got it. All right, Dad. Somehow in this mess of a relationship came out the clear winner here. And I'll be honest, let me know in the comments if somebody feels like they've identified the heart of what the problem here is. But because with what Rachel said to OP and what Rachel argued to OP, I don't even know what the actual issue is. The problem is the dad's too hot and the mom's not? The problem is they're too liberal? The problem is OP's dad should be a model? The problem is it's somehow creepy that OP's parents are together just based off of pure aesthetics? And then the final problem is somehow that OP's a mama's boy? And in the comments, a user named Dcold wrote, her parting words were, a mama's boy is just plain ugly and you're cursed with your mom's looks. It so seldom happens that our life decisions are validated so immediately and unambiguously. Onward, another user named Smittit replied, that line is so much cringe, I can barely stand it. She's trying to insult him in verse? What the heck? And the OP responded to that saying, hey, I thought so too. I actually have been laughing over it. I agree that her last words were a favor to me. I won't be second guessing this breakup. She sent me a bunch of texts today saying that she didn't mean anything and to give her another chance to explain. I'm tired of how contradictory she is, and I don't feel obligated to listen to another explanation. She's already crossed the line of no return. On the whole saga, a user named Megamos wrote, your parents are too cool and non-judgmental. That's a new one for me. Sharon Stone replied, way too kind and generous and warm. Hate them. And speaking of cool and non-judgmental, it would be very cool and non-judgmental of you if you hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Our next story is, my 25-year-old male, wife, 26-year-old female, has had lice for almost a year. How to handle this? Original post, January 25th, 2016. Hi, this is embarrassing. We've been together for 4 years, have a couple of kids, and are doing just fine, just FYI. My wife went for a haircut like 8 months ago and was embarrassed to find out she had lice and they wouldn't cut her hair. We assumed she got it from a friend's daughter who we hadn't seen in months since she had lice and would stay over often and even gave it to our son. We used those lice combs and treatments a few times, but my wife has very long and fine hair, so we missed some and accomplished virtually nothing. Now, I'm not upset because we've been unsuccessful. I'm upset because in the last 6 months, my wife has not attempted any treatment at all. She has been completely ignoring the problem and gets annoyed at me when I bring it up. She always has an excuse ready for why she can't do anything about it at the moment and has probably set at least a dozen dates where she says she'll set time aside to handle it, but something always comes up or she just forgets. Last week, she called a service that treats lice but didn't get a call back and never followed up. Now she says she'll call again next week because she doesn't have any money. I don't want to lose my family over such a seemingly stupid issue, but I really just never saw myself married to someone who lacks the resolve to get rid of a bug infestation in their own hair. It's disgusting, it's a turnoff, it's selfish, she'll give it to me or my kids eventually, and it's indicative of a much larger character flaw that I can't quite put my finger on. Even aside from all of that, the everyday nuisance of having bugs in her hair is very irritating. We can't spoon, she can't get a haircut even though she desperately needs one. She'll put her head on mine without thinking while hooking up, and it will completely ruin the mood for me, etc. The worst thing is that she's super insecure about it and also acts like nothing is really wrong since she's getting it taken care of soon. But she's been acting like this for over 6 months and still treats me like I'm being a butt if I bring it up. She reacts like I'm making a jab at her looks or her weight. I'm extremely confident at this point that if I were to just ignore the issue and let her handle it in her own time, like I was doing for months, that this might possibly never be resolved. Unless people here convince me it's a stupid idea, I'm probably going to show her this. I've tried talking to her about it, but it doesn't accomplish anything, and she just immediately gets irritated and changes the subject. Edit: there's a lot of misinformation about lice here. Keep these facts in mind before adding to the problem. Lice only survive off the host for like a day. Lice can't jump or fly. Lice don't carry diseases. Pets can't get lice. I 100% do not have lice, and neither do my kids, so please stop telling me we do. Editor's note: I checked into all of these and they seem to be true. Animals can get lice, but dogs can only get specific lice, and so on. So that's the end of the original post, and I have to say, my mind is really just going to one place, which is, has she shown any kind of this behavior before this point? OP themselves said they could never imagine being with someone who lacked the resolve to do such a thing like this. So I'm assuming this is kind of out of character for her. It makes me wonder what else must be going on for her to act this way. In the comments, an anonymous user wrote, "Unless people here convince me it's a stupid idea, I'm probably going to show her this. It's a stupid idea. You'll probably come across as weak and it'll validate her belief that this is all a personal attack. A far better idea is to organize the treatment yourself and drive her butt to it. Call the place, set an appointment time, get in the car, I'm driving you to get the bugs in your hair removed for the sake of everyone else in the family. Walk her into the clinic or whatever, and wait in the waiting room." The OP replied, "Good point. I've gotten more assertive when pressing this issue lately, but I really want her to just get this taken care of herself like a normal, responsible adult. If I have to treat her like a child to get this taken care of, then I'm acknowledging that I'm married to someone who can't even handle this themselves." Another user named Fluffy Bunny Butts left a comment saying, "If her only excuse is not having the money, then you pay for it. At this point, you probably need to de-louse your whole house. This is just going to get worse and worse." The OP replied, "That's not her only excuse, that's her most recent excuse. There's always an excuse, but this week's was money since we just had car trouble and bought some plane tickets. I've offered to pay for it for months. De-louse your whole house? The worst part is that we moved in with my folks for a few months to save on rent while we had a bit of a money crisis. It's embarrassing just thinking about, and certainly not fair to them. I'd probably just crawl into a corner and die if my mom mysteriously got a lice." Another user replied, "Plane tickets? What the heck is wrong with the two of you? Yes, you too. You have children, you're living in your parents' house, you're blithely traveling. What adult behaves like this, much less two?" OP in a downvoted comment replied, "If you must know, someone died." Another user named Cola Koala 200 wrote, "I think you've been letting her deal with the issue on her own way too much. You need to step up and take charge of her infestation yourself and clear it out. This means setting aside 1 or 2 hours a day for you to go through your wife's hair with a fine-tooth comb and strong light, picking nits out with your fingernails. This means using all the tricks. The lice shampoo every few days, the vinegar thing, the olive oil thing, all of it. You commit yourself to it and work on it every day until you haven't seen any nits for a week. If you sit several feet away from her and your way of dealing with the problem is to nag her to deal with her own lice, which she actually can't do, no one really can, then no wonder she gets sensitive about it. If you really don't want to get involved, you should be the one to find someone who will. Having lice is not a hygiene thing, it's an affliction. You need to treat this like she's sick, not like she's lazy. The OP replied, I've done this. She'll make an excuse as to why she can't do it today and promise we'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow will bring a brand new excuse. I've brought home treatments from the pharmacy and scheduled days where I could comb and apply them. Short of demanding she sits down and lets me treat her lice with some sort of ultimatum, there's nothing I haven't done. And the OP, on ignoring commenters who say he has lice, downvoted. They said, I've been ignoring these because I don't have lice. Neither does my son, and my daughter doesn't really have hair yet. I check my son regularly and myself. Both of us get haircuts every month as well, and barbers and stylists do not cut hair that has lice in it. To another commenter, they wrote, I know that this thread has already decided that I have lice, but I don't. I have short hair and get it cut regularly. Barbers and stylists look for lice and won't touch your hair if you have them. Also, with my hair color, lice would be extremely noticeable, and I check often. Does the wife really have lice? Yes, I have seen them. The OP then goes on to post an update January 29th, 2016, 4 days later. Hello? After several months of absolutely no progress, I really wasn't expecting to have an update for you all after just a few days, but here it is. I talked to her when I got home and managed to find a few minutes alone without distractions and asked her for a status update on the lice removal. Long story short, I was met with another excuse as to why I would have to wait until next week, and my foot came down. I don't think she took it seriously until later on in the night when we went to bed. I slept on our futon instead of with her and also turned her down for hooking up, which is something I'm pretty sure has happened only like twice in our entire relationship. The very next day, she called and made an appointment to get professionally deloused. I went with to the appointment, and they were even able to check me as well. The woman didn't find anything in my hair, even with a magnifying glass and a UV light that apparently makes the nits glow. My wife was treated and is now lice-free. We talked afterwards about why it took so long for her to get it taken care of. Many of you were right. She was embarrassed, broke, discouraged from the hours we wasted trying to treat it ourselves in the beginning, and it was just easier for her to not think about it. Also, once we moved into my parents' house, she was even more embarrassed and didn't want them to know about it. Pretty much all of the at-home treatments would be a dead giveaway. She apologized, vacuumed, did all of our laundry and bedding, and we've put this annoyance behind us. We also checked our son when we got home from school, and he's in the clear too. So that's that. Still have to get to the bottom of why someone would think it's preferable to have lice than to deal with the embarrassment of people knowing you have lice, but I think that's one of those pesky communication things that we have to work on. Thanks very much to those of you that responded with legitimate advice. I got over 100 PMs after my post was locked regarding lice treatments that you found successful. Since the last post got a ton more attention than I was expecting, and the comments were like 60% misinformation about lice, I'll clear a few things up with info that I've learned from the professionals at the delousing clinic. I hope this isn't against the rules. Lice can't live anywhere except on a human head, and they die about 24 hours if they're away. Since they die so quickly, it's not possible to have a lice infestation in your home or on your furniture. All we were told to do to make sure she doesn't get reinfected from a stray lice was to either stay away from unwashed pillows, hats, or bedding for a couple of days, or to wash it in hot water. Some people are immune to lice, and different families, the word the delouser used, of lice only like certain types of hair. In other words, it's entirely possible to live with someone with lice and not get lice. In the comments, the OP responded to a deleted commenter, writing, "Yeah, that's definitely the underlying issue. A big part of that issue is likely the way I approached her about it, but we're both coming to terms with our faults. Do you two normally keep your finances separate to the point where she wouldn't feel comfortable asking you for help paying for a medical issue like this? Our finances aren't really separate at the moment. 100% of my money is getting thrown at our debt, and we've been living off of the cash she makes serving. Money is super tight, but she never hesitates to ask if she needs it. She was just using it as an excuse because she doesn't want to deal with the problem." Another user named Almost Stan left a comment writing, "Sweet Jesus, I never imagined a restaurant server with head lice." The OP replied, "Lice can't jump or fly. Also, servers keep their hair tied up, so hair doesn't fall out and get into food." There's a reason it's mostly kids and their parents that get head lice, and that reason is that it's virtually impossible to spread without direct head-to-head contact or, to a much lesser extent, both people having direct contact with the same object, with their heads. I'm having a hard time even imagining a plausible scenario where a restaurant server spreads lice to a patron. The OP then follows up in a comment May 4th, 2016, 3.5 months later. I'll have you know that nobody else in the house got lice. We got her treated by a pro a few days after posting, and the delouser person said that lice can be specific to certain hair types. Also, since she was washing her hair and blow drying it, that was killing most of them, and the delouser only found like 12 of them. Our next story is, went for a tire change, found a tracker under my car, placed by my roommate. How do I go about this? Original post, March 29th, 2020. I'm a 25-year-old female. My roommate is a 34-year-old male. I moved to a new town last year, only knew one person, stayed with her a bit until I found a house to rent, but I needed a roommate. She introduced me to a guy she worked with who also needed a roommate because he just got a divorce. I met him first, didn't get weird vibes, seemed nice enough. About 6 months ago, he made the suggestion to be friends with benefits, and I made the stupid mistake of agreeing. We both did not want a relationship. Everything was fine until he started getting weird and staying up until I got home, questioning me about where I had been and who I was around. I then ended the hooking up, told him I didn't think it was like that. He got mad. Everything was fine for a bit until yesterday. I live in a pretty rural area where most businesses are small and family owned. Since not a lot of people are getting out, I decided to go ahead and get some new tires and support a mechanic shop I go to, since I doubt they're getting regular business at the moment, COVID. I'm there waiting when the guy comes over and tells me he wants to show me something. I'm like, okay. We go over to my car and he bends down and points under at a black box. He asks me if I know what that is and tells me it's a GPS. It took me a second to understand the implications of a GPS being under my car. I was like, so someone put it there? It's clear I have no idea why it's there, and he actually got concerned and told me if I didn't know, I needed to find out. I feel so creeped out because I have no friends here. The friend I knew moved away. I only know some people at work, but we're not friends and it's been hard to meet people. There's no other way a GPS would be on my car unless my roommate put it there. Now I'm freaked out in a way I've never been before, and I can't move out. I'm scared to ask him about it. I have no one to stay with, no family here. What do I do? Do I just ask him about it outright? I left the GPS there because I don't want him to know I know at the moment. What do I do? So that was the end of the original post, and all I have to say is, considering all of my knowledge of car GPS trackers is solely from like Breaking Bad, I don't think I would have been much help to OP. My only thought would be, can you somehow verify that that is definitely a tracker? I mean, the mechanic guy says it's a GPS tracker, but does OP know for sure? In the comments, a user named LolPaul Hall left a comment writing, "This is really creepy. Start planning your exit. Document everything." Another user named Scribbles left a comment writing, "I would be concerned there are cameras in your bedroom and bathroom. Honestly, I wouldn't feel safe to return home. I would immediately call police and file a report. There are devices you can get from a spy store that scan for the frequency of hidden cameras. But I wouldn't even waste my time with that. My peace of mind would be worth a terminated lease and breach in contract, which a police report would help you in civil court should you have to go. Run, do not walk, to the nearest exit." Another commenter wrote, "Be specific as to how you know, not what you think or believe, but what actual proof do you have that your roommate put the GPS on your car?" What I read is that some guy found something on your car. VOP responded to that commenter writing, "It's a small magnetic tracking device. Who else would it have been? I know no one, and this place is too rural for any kind of crime organization like stealing cars. No one would steal my 7-year-old car anyway. Maybe the car dealership put it there? I own it. I've had it for about 7 years since I started college, paid for it in cash outright." VOP then goes on to post an update, March 30th, 2020, the next day. Update, kind of. I'm going to put them here. I'm still reading through the comments. Thank you guys. There's really great advice I'm going to follow. PSA, I bought my car brand new 7 years ago and paid for it in cash. I've never owed anything on it. So last night, I decided to subtly pack my things and plan on making the drive at some point today back to my hometown. He works during the day, but I work from home because my office is closed until at least this summer. I realized I could probably fit all of my stuff in my car, and since my lease ends in May anyway, so I'm just moving out. The only furniture that's mine, and not the landlord's or his, is my bed, and it's old, so I think I'm just going to leave it here. I went down to the police station early this morning and had them remove it. I don't think there's much they can do besides document it. They asked me some questions and I said I didn't know, but I know no one here and think it might be my roommate. They said it looked like a cheap one from Amazon or eBay and they'll check it out. Honestly, I may just end up staying home. I miss being in a familiar place where I know basically everyone in town and I miss my friends. Working from home for a few months might give me enough time to switch jobs. So that's all I have for now. Thank you guys. I'll try to reply to people as well. The OP, replying to a downvoted commenter on dealing with the police, wrote, I've already gone to the police. Even if I had told them, yep, totally my roommate did it, I know it. I didn't, I simply strongly suggested it. That's not grounds for someone's life to be ruined. They wouldn't even take that as fact until it was proven. Even if they find definitive proof, I'd have to go through with pressing charges. If I did press charges, then it would be a simple misdemeanor. And at that point, if he got a misdemeanor, it would be rightly justified since it was all proven. And that's if I would even bother with charges in the first place. All of these are minor things compared to if he was an insane loose cannon that could end or hurt me if I just didn't mention his name. It's ignorant not to piece together the clues and be safe rather than sorry, instead of just saying, nope, I have no clue, because I do have a clue and I know it's him. I plan on asking him later today after my 8-hour drive home, so I'm interested in hearing what he has to say. And finally, the OP added an edit update to the original post, March 31st, 2020, one day after the previous update. Update, since I think it'll be lost in the comments. If anyone is curious, already mentioned I went to the police and home, all settled in now, ended up asking him about it via phone. He admitted to it, got freaked out when I said I gave it to the police, said he was concerned for my safety when I would go places by myself after work. Yeah, okay. We got into a scuffle about it. He finally snapped and said that he knew I was seeing someone when I was hooking up with him. I wasn't. So yeah, my first experience with crazy, and hopefully my last. Unfortunately, that's the last update from OP, but I think it's safe to say they're just not looking in the rearview mirror and moving on from that place and that guy. Our next story is, my dad died and left 3 million British pounds to my 2 younger brothers, 21 and 23 years old. I got 0. Original post, October 8th, 2025. My dad passed a few months ago, and I learned yesterday he left the whole roughly 3 million British pound estate to my 2 younger brothers. Close to $4 million US. I got nothing. The reason? I'm a woman, and my future husband will provide for me. I'm 27-year-old female, single, and nowhere near getting married. I worked hard to be independent and still got treated like I don't need support because someday a man might do it. My brothers aren't struggling, but they took it without a word. I feel gutted and angry that even in 2025, my worth to my own family was tied to some sexist idea that my imaginary future husband will care for me. That was the end of the original post. In the comments, a user named Tambourine Chicken wrote, under UK law, you might actually have a case. The Inheritance Provision for Family Independence Act of 1975 lets disinherited children challenge wills that don't make reasonable provision. If your dad really said your future husband will provide, that could help your claim. Seriously, cross-post this to Legal Advice UK. They'll point you in the right direction, hopefully. I'm sorry for your loss, OP. I really hope you get your fair share of the inheritance here. The OP replied, that is amazing. I had no idea that the law might prevent something like this. I'm going to do some research about this and get some legal advice. Thanks so much. You've really given me hope when I was genuinely at the lowest I've ever been." Another user named Southern Sea left a comment writing, "I'm in the same situation with you. The thing that triggers me the most was that those people take it without a second thought. Play as a nice person, but only when their benefits are not interfered. In my country, you're eligible to file a case on this." VOP replied, "Still early days, so I hope my brothers stand up for me. However, the comments above have offered me some hope that I have a path forward, even if they don't." Another user named Morden left a comment writing, "Contact a lawyer and enforce your part. And your dad was a jerk? He has 3 kids, not 2. We're not in the Middle Ages where he marries you off to the neighboring landlord's son and you're going to be okay." VOP replied, "It's crazy to me how someone can still have the idea that women are somehow less than men in 2025. VOP then posted an update November 10th, 2025, just over 1 month later. "I just wanted to share some good news after my last post. After many difficult discussions and advice from numerous kind people here, my brothers and I came to an agreement. We're splitting our dad's estate 3 ways equally. Once I calmed down and showed them how unfair it felt, they listened. We got some legal advice and found out there was actually a simple way to adjust things properly so everyone was treated equally. They both apologized and said they hadn't realized how hurtful it was at the time. Now everything's being sorted, and I'll get my fair share too. I honestly can't thank everyone enough. If I hadn't written that post and read all of your advice and support, I think I would have just accepted it and walked away with nothing. You gave me the push to speak up for myself, and it's made all the difference." In the comments, a user named Initial Smooth, the top comment, wrote, "Please have everything documented and in front of your legal representatives. Verbal promises and agreements are good to have, but not bulletproof." VOP replied, "Thanks for the advice. My lawyer has taken care of all of this. Paperwork has been signed and funds are expected to be distributed in the next couple of months." Another user named Zelenix left a comment writing, "I remember your story. It was unfair of your father to treat you differently just because you're a woman. I'm glad your brothers were understanding and even apologized for something that wasn't their fault. They seem like good people. Some parents will do anything to ruin a sibling's relationship. Makes me happy to read it didn't work in your case. Having brothers on your side is priceless." VOP replied, "I thought this situation was going to break my family, but it showed me how strong it actually was." And finally, another user named Starry Dust left a comment writing, "It was disgusting how your father excluded you from his estate because you're a woman. I'm glad your brothers realized how unfair that is and decided to split the estate with you. That's the only fair thing to do." VOP replied, "The sexism in this family ends with him, and I am thrilled about it." And speaking of ends, unfortunately that's all the time I have for today. But if you want to hear some more crazy stories full of updates, you can still check out that video on the left of the screen right now. Or if you missed my latest video, you can check that out on the right of the screen. That said, after this video ends, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.